Do you really need a passport to go to the Philippines? I'm talking about Philippine Passport. And this is for dual citizens who are reluctant to get a passport and just use their dual citizenship document to enter the country as a dual citizen. Of course, if you're not a dual citizen and you're balikbayan, you can just present evidence of you being a former Filipino citizen. But who really needs a passport? That's what we're going to talk about. Stay with me. One of the benefits of having multiple citizenship is the ability to travel in different countries without requiring a visa, which will impose some limitations on your stay in the country. And that's why some people spend thousands of dollars to buy themselves a passport outside of the United States or outside of Canada. It's because there are some advantages. But now let's focus on the Philippines. Do you really need a passport? Do you really need to apply for dual citizenship? Well, first let's take a look at the power of US passport versus Philippine passport. Let's take a look at it. Out of 97 global passports, the power ranking are as follows. Now, this ranking of 97 doesn't mean there are only 97 countries. For example, USA is only third. They rank third, along with Denmark, Belgium, Portugal, Norway, Poland, Ireland, and New Zealand. Now, this is only one rank, that's a third, and there are several countries involved. So there are multiple countries, more than 97. So let me make sure that is understood. So USA ranks only third, along with those countries. Now, they're only beaten by Germany, Sweden, Finland, Luxembourg, Spain, France, Italy, Netherlands, Austria, Switzerland, and South Korea. They rank as number 2. Ooh, South Korea even has more power than the United States. Interesting. Who's number 1? The first is United Arab Emirates. This surprises me because if you Google it and look at the statistics, some will say no, it is Japan. Some will say it's another country. So let's not be an accountant who wants to be so accurate on the numbers. This ranking depends on how they're actually ranking those states or those countries. So generally, this is where countries stand in terms of the power of their passport. But don't go with the number 1, number 2, number 3. Just generally, this is how things stand. Well, how about the Philippines? Philippines ranks 67, along with Mongolia. Okay, so this is just saying generally that if US is third, Philippines is number 3, way down, way down. But is it really all the way down? Not quite. So we'll continue on. Among the bottom ranking, that's 93 to 97 ranking, are Yemen, Pakistan, Somalia, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, which of course I can understand. You will see that Philippine passport is not quite as bad as the ones in this 93 to 97. If you were a resident or a citizen of Yemen, Pakistan, Somalia, blah, 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 most countries will require that you get a visa. Whereas in Philippines, it's going to be less countries will require a visa. In the United States, very few countries would require a visa. That's a nice benefit. But are we getting that benefit in the Philippines? Doesn't appear to be, so let's continue on. Philippine passport holders can enter a total of 64 destinations, either without a visa. There are 36 of those countries, through a visa on arrival program. There are 26 of those countries. And this is the first time I heard of this, electronic travel authorization. I guess that means when you want to travel, all you have to do is to register and travel without waiting for an approval. So there are 2 countries, so that's not too much. So let's not worry about those. So 36 countries would require no visa at all, and 26 would allow a visa on arrival, just like Philippines allows visa on arrival for 30 days for Americans. So 64 compared to US, entitled to travel to 186 countries or territories without having to apply for a visa or simply getting a visa on arrival at the place of destination, ranking it the top 10 in terms of travel freedom. That's what it gives you. Having a US passport or Canadian passport, maybe Australian passport, will give you that freedom that you can travel in more countries than not. But for some people, they are not really traveling, so it's not a great benefit, right? So what is the benefit of having a Philippine passport? If you're only traveling once in a while and only to the Philippines, so let's say you're on OFW, came here, you have no interest in traveling anywhere, but every now and then you want to go back, your dual citizenship paper, assuming you're a dual, okay, is enough. You don't need a passport. But if you're going home frequently, maybe once a year, maybe once every 2, maybe once every 3 years, having a passport alleviates the need for, gee, what do I need to bring, and so forth and so on. I'll give you some other benefits, but one benefit that does not frequently occur is what happened during the pandemic. During the pandemic, unless you are a Filipino or you have a Philippine passport, you were not allowed to go into the Philippines again because of the pandemic. So even if you want to go home as a balikbayan, you cannot. But if you had a Philippine passport, you can. Now, this is an unusual year, so I'm saying I'm not going to count that as one of the benefits because that will not happen all the time. So let's take a look at the benefits. Dual citizen perks you can enjoy in the Philippines. Travel with a Philippine passport, and of course that includes travel exemption. When you have a Philippine passport, things are going to be a breeze to go through the border, through the immigration screeners. And also, you will not have to pay travel tax, but only if you stay in the Philippines for less than a year. If you stay longer than a year, you will still be subject to travel tax, okay? Just keep that in mind. You can own real property in the Philippines. That is if you have the intention or plan to buy real estate. Well, I'm talking about land because condominium is also real estate, but because you don't own the land, you are allowed to own even if you are a foreigner. Okay? Now, for balikbayan, that means former Filipinos, you could own land but with some limitations as a result of maybe inheritance or whatever. But if you belong to a wealthy family with a lot of properties and you don't want any limitation and you want to make sure that you will be able to inherit those with no issues, no problem, then get a dual citizenship. Not only dual citizenship, but a passport. That's because I'm assuming that if you have humongous amount of land in the Philippines, you'll be going back and forth. In reality, all you need is a dual citizenship paper to be able to own. But if you have a lot of property ownership in the Philippines, you will probably, most likely, be going back and forth. So, a passport will be very handy. You can engage and conduct business and commerce as a Filipino citizen. For example, I'm a CPA, both in the US and in the Philippines. When I go to the Philippines, if I'm not a citizen, I no longer have that license. But if I'm dual and I have a Philippine passport, I'll be able to practice CPA work again in the Philippines. But of course, I don't have those plans. Practice one's profession. Exercise your right to vote in the Philippines. Well, that is if you're interested in voting. I really do not have such interest And therefore, to me, it's not a benefit. But for some people are even planning to run for office. And they have asked me, gee, if I'm a dual, am I allowed to run for office? My understanding is, and I'm not sure about this, don't quote me, if you are going to run for an elected office as opposed to an appointed office, you will need to give up your U.S. citizenship or other foreign countries' citizenship. You will have to be only a Philippine citizen. So there you go. The important thing here is the matter of convenience. If most of the time you're frequently going back to the Philippines, let's say, it's good to have a Philippine passport. If you only go once in a while, you don't need it. If you own land, property, you want to vote, get a Philippine passport. Philippine passport is cheap. I think, I don't remember how much it is now, but back in 2016, I think, when I got my dual citizenship only cost $50 to be a dual. And I got mine, this is before the pandemic, pre-pandemic, I got mine the same day. I applied in the morning, in the afternoon, swearing in, then I came back home with dual citizenship papers. Then I applied for a Philippine passport, and I think I spent maybe about $100, more or less. And especially now, if you apply for a passport, it's good for 10 years. So if you pay $100, 10 years, that's like $10 a year. That is if it is $100, okay? So it's not much, and it's easy to get. The only thing is, when you get a Philippine passport, it takes a while, sometimes 2 months for the passport to come back to you. The reason is, you apply in the US, they send it to the Philippines for processing, and then Philippines will send it back to the consulate where you applied in the United States, then you can go and pick it up. It takes about a month to 2 months to get your passport. Like what I said, if you go home frequently, go get a Philippine passport. Be proud of that passport. Now, for some people who are inconvenienced by getting a passport because, for example, if you live in Florida, you'll have to fly because you have to apply in person. You cannot just mail it. To apply in Washington, D.C. And that is not convenient. Well, in that case, next time you go home, use your dual citizenship paper and then apply. And if it takes long, for example, if you'll only be there for 2 weeks and you'll be going back home, by the time the passport is completed, it will take so much time. Either you can ask them to mail it to you in the United States, or if they cannot do that, have a relative or a friend pick it up and mail it to you. No sweat. It's not a big problem. So this is all I have today. Please do share this with others, and I'll appreciate it if you click like and do subscribe to my channel unless you have already done so. Make it a great day, and God bless.